Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first 2023 installment of Succession Matters. My name is Chelsea, and I'm coming to you from Succession Matching with Etoile, who is also from Succession Matching. If you're not familiar with Succession Matching, it is a two-sided marketplace that it is designed to help buyers and sellers find each other of businesses for successful succession transitions. I don't think I can say succession any more times, right? One of the ways succession matching helps individuals set themselves up for selling is through our recently developed and very popular, I should say, Etoile, formal succession planning program, which essentially is, and you're probably going to be better to speak to it right out of the gates, but helps people put together a formal succession plan. And you deliver that program to individuals who work directly with them, with the business owners, right?
Yes, I do. It's like a one-on-one presentation. So we just get them completely prepared to sell and be ready to engage a buyer, just through educating them and creating final documents and answering any questions and just being there to support them through the process.
Right. And it's a big program, right? Like, I mean, it's not so big that you couldn't complete it, but it's like 7 sessions. Is that what it is? One-on-one?
Yeah, 7 one-on-one sessions. And then we meet after just to kind of review all the content, make sure everything's great, and send them like a physical copy of their documentation, as well as provide them with a digital copy.
Perfect. And the documentation is a formal succession plan, right? Why is a formal succession plan important for business owners who want to sell?
Well, it educates them on what they need, for one, and it just basically gets everything in order from like start to finish. And we have all the documents prepared in a way so that each stage of a transition, they know when to hand the buyer certain documents, so they don't, divulge anything too soon or too late. So
Yeah.
they're just completely prepared to engage a buyer.
Right. Perfect. I assume that would include like due diligence, right? Like being ready for a due diligence phase, because I think that's where we see a lot of sellers and buyer negotiations sort of drop off, is in that state, right?
Yes. So the due diligence documents that we create, we've like through our experience through succession matching, we've kind of put together all the questions that most buyers will ask, as well as what they will ask for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. And I imagine it just takes a load off of business owners' minds to have all that like together and complete and ready to go so that they can talk to a buyer. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're usually pretty nervous at the start because they don't really know, what to do and what to get ready. So we just walk them through step by step. And I think it really alleviates that like just nervousness and anxiety.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So that's actually, I mean, we're not here to talk about the formal succession planning program today, but it is important to understand so that people know why you're sort of our like in-house expert when it comes to a discounted cash flow analysis. Um, yeah, and so when we're talking about, or when we're trying to think of what topics we wanted to tackle this week, we've tackled valuation before with Paul Marcelchuk. I hope I said his last name correctly. Um, Wonderful man who does third-party valuations, but third-party valuations aren't always necessary, right? Like it can sometimes be necessary, sometimes not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a discounted cash flow is maybe not an alternative, but a good, what do you think? Like starting
Uh,
point?
I wouldn't say it an alternative by any means.
Okay.
um, but it is a great starting point, and it helps like validate that like asking price that a professional evaluator will come up with.
Wait.
Yeah.
So it is like a good starting point, but not like an end result necessarily.
Yeah, but it depends on like timelines too. So if a business wants to sell like, say you wanted to sell in like 3 months for some reason, and you didn't have the time to like have a professional valuation done, or like the funds, or like something, you could use the discounted cash flow to get a net present value for
Oh,
your business, so that
okay.
you can kind of get the asking price from that.
Gotcha. And what's a net present value? Can I ask that?
Yeah, it's how much sorry, yeah, uh how much an investment is worth throughout its lifetime, I
Uh,
guess.
okay, so I think that brings me to my next question then, is like, how do you calculate a discounted cash flow? Like, what is it actually?
So by definition, it's a valuation method that estimates the value of an investment using its like expected future cash flows based on historical data. So you kind of plug in the last 3 to 5 years financials, and
Gotcha.
then you can use that to calculate the net present value. And when a business owner is selling an operating business, right, to a new owner, it takes into consideration things like inflation
Hmm.
and stuff and growth potential.
So it's sort of like a loose predictor,
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
pretty
like
much.
that.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
makes lots of assumptions based on historical data, though.
Gotcha. And so what does a business owner have to put together then? Like, can they do we call it DCF internally, right? So
Yeah.
let's just say that because it's way less wordy than saying discounted cash flows. Um, what does a business owner like? Can they do a DCF on their own?
Um, like there's templates and stuff that
Yeah,
you could probably like fumble through.
yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend it if you didn't really know what you were doing. Um, so we have like people internally, right, that are trained in creating these. And in order to create one, a business owner needs to provide their last 3 to 5 years of financials.
Okay.
So like all their complete financials, ideally 5 years, but sometimes three is adequate. So that's all their balance sheets, their income statements, profit and loss if they're separate from their income statements. We usually request like a list of assets, as well as like we ask additional questions like, do you have COGS, like cost of goods sold, and what is the amount, and do you have a lease, and things like that, just to get a really well-rounded picture of their financial health.
Gotcha. Okay.
Usually.
And is it, maybe this is a loaded question. Is that like an easy thing for most business owners to come up with? Like, I'm sure you see a wide range. You've worked with a bunch of businesses, like a ton now.
Mhm.
But like, are most people pretty organized? I like, okay, the reason I'm asking is myself, if I was a business owner, I imagine that if somebody was like, I need the last 3 to 5 year financials, it would just like strike me with fear and anxiety. Um, is that
Yeah.
common?
Yes, that's you are normal.
Oh,
That is completely normal. I find anything, it's just like doing your taxes. I don't know about you, but I always get like stressed out. And I don't know why. Because I have an accountant that handles that. But it's just that like, like, oh, financials, right?
yeah,
So if the business owner has like kept up on everything, and they do have an accountant and ideally a bookkeeper as well, that kept up on everything, submitted all the reports to the accountant and stuff, it really only takes like an email or a call to your accountant and say, hey, I need my last 3 to 5 years financials, can you send those over to me?
right.
If we have any issues with the additional questions that we ask, they can send those to their accountant as well, just to make sure all the information is accurate. So as long as they've kept up on their books, it shouldn't be that stressful.
Yeah. Do you like go through their books with them at all, or does it just go straight like do you have to
I'll take a look at it just to make sure there's nothing like glaringly like strange on it. But for the most part, no. Like we just, yeah.
you just pass it over? Yeah. Um, are business owners ever like, I don't know how to ask this. I want to say like mistrusting, or do they hesitate? Because it's sensitive information, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do they hesitate at all, or do most of them just feel like, okay?
Yeah, I really haven't had anybody saying like, "Oh no,
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do
Cool.
that."
Yeah. Yeah.
They seem to be pretty open with
Yeah.
it, and we're incredibly private, like as a company, as you know, right? So we take privacy very seriously. So
Okay.
it's not like we're gonna share it externally, or
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all the questions I had. We're gonna have to edit this because I
Do
I'm
you,
trying to
do
keep
you
it going.
want to know, did you want to know like how a DCF is useful or helpful in during a sale?
Yeah, didn't I? I skipped that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a cut.
Julia's cut this out.
A couple last few chit-chatting moments. How is a DCF? How is a DCF helpful in a sale?
Well, for when you're just operating your business, so if you're still running your business, you can use a DCF still, right? So it'll show like hypothetical results of what might happen if you make changes to your cash flow. So if you're thinking about like, say, buying a new like delivery vehicle or something, but you're not quite sure if that's going to be like financially responsible to your company's cash flow, you can actually like plug that into the DCF and it's going to show you how that's going to affect your cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you're selling your business, it's the same type of thing, right? You don't want to make any changes to your cash flow during the selling phase that's going to make it dive in a negative direction.
Right.
So you could like test that out to make sure the decisions that you're making will keep that positive cash flow during the sale. And it also helps to assist with validating the asking price.
So, with that being said, would it not just be positive for all business owners, whether they're selling or not, to have a discounted cash flow on hand
Yes,
at the time just to help them make good business choices?
I think so. Like I might be a little bit biased, but I definitely think anyone
Huh.
running a business would benefit from it. And it also helps buyers too.
Yeah, hey.
The seller can share it with the buyer, right? So that would also corroborate the asking price for the buyer. And the buyer can also use it to, help them writing a business plan, because you have to put like that financial information and projections and stuff into a business plan. And it also helps them when they're applying for financing.
Huh.
So it kind of just helps everyone involved.
Yeah, exactly. So then would you turn that over to the bank then?
Yeah.
Or okay, interesting.
Mhm.
Huh. And so I guess if you're buying a business, you could, you have your business plan and everything. A lot of business owners, I feel, or new business owners, like people who are taking over from another business owner, want to do their own thing with the business, almost like right out of the gates, right? Like you and I have seen it in businesses that we worked in prior to succession matching. Where a new owner steps up and then just makes like instant changes and it like really kills the revenue right away because it sort of like changes things maybe a little bit too dramatically for vendors and customers.
Yeah, because it wasn't really like researched, it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
this idea, but they can check that idea, so to speak, with the
Interesting.
discounted cash flow.
Huh. There's a lot of power I feel in this DCF.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful actually.
A
Yeah.
powerful little tool.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Etoile, for
Welcome.
taking the time with me today
Yeah.
to talk about DCFs and a little bit about the FSP, the Formal Succession Planning Program. Is there anything else you wanted to add or?
No, I think that's pretty much covered it.
Very good then. Thanks everybody for tuning in to this month's episode of Succession Matters. Stay tuned as we'll announce the next episode in the next little while. And we'll see you as always at the end of the month.